Hello. Come on in. How are you? I hope you're doing great today. Come on in, come on in. I'm trying to trace something and I can hardly see it. I hope that it's a good day for you. I wasn't planning to be here today, but I told you guys that to check and see, because I might be, and I am, and here we are. And it's Drama Free Friday, and it is hot. Oh, you guys, it is hot. So, first of all, how is the sound doing for you all? Is it okay? I hope. We're doing all right? You're good? Are you glad you checked? Me too, Joan. Me too. I'm glad you checked also. Yeah, I wasn't going to be here, but, you know, things went crazy last Saturday. And the wasps ate my internet. They did. I already told that long, boring story on Monday. So, anyway, we'll recap it in brief. Hi, Joan. Hi, Amber. Good to see you. Hi, Dorothy. Catherine, hello. Connie Kane, hello. Glad you're here. It is so hot. It is so hot right now. I went out just a little bit ago to check and see what the temperature was like, and I'm like, whew. I mean, it's one of those, it's been hotter here, but it was like breathtaking at the moment. Like breathtaking, you know? Anyway, so come on in. I'm just putzing around here a little bit, waiting for everybody to kind of find a chair. Like you have to find a chair. Any of you watch, does not look like a size 10. No, it's because I'm looking at it wrong. It's an 01. Duh. There we go. 08. That's fine. Do any of you watch Kate at the Last Homely House? Looking for a piece of white paper to put under this. Anyway, she talks about her lime green sofa. And that she imagines all of her friends from around the world sitting on a lime green sofa. And I thought that's really just kind of a fun image, you know? This isn't going to help a whole lot. Yeah. Hi, Carol. Hello, making crafts. Yeah. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Shoo. Yeah. Kate is really a neat gal, neat lady. It's 91. It's 90 here, but I don't know what it feels like. Let's see what it feels like, because it was just suffocating when I went out there. Feels like it's 103. That's why it felt that hot, because it feels like 103. Anyway. Okay. So, last we spoke, let's see, last time what was it? Monday. On Monday evening when I was here, I didn't know what to do because I wasn't sure if things were going to work with the internet. So I had to just kind of do something that was kind of iffy, you know, that didn't really require a lot of planning. And so what I did was I took a bunch, when all else fails, you take a bunch of scraps, put them together, and you make something out of scraps, which I happen to love doing. So, and even though I got rid of a bunch of the scraps, I still have scraps. So sometimes I do things out of paper and sometimes things out of fabric. And on Monday, I took a bunch of fabric scraps, although I had cleaned out a lot of the fabric scraps. I just, there's just a limit to how much a person can keep in the scrap department. Unless you are some people, not mentioning any names, not mentioning any names. And then you're the ones that have to keep all the scraps. It's kind of the camp that I fall into sometimes. Anyway, I did get rid of a bunch of scraps when I moved because it's like I have to pare down. I gotta pare down the amount of stuff I'm trying to move and crunch into a smaller space. Hey, Dar. So anyway, so what we did is I took scraps and I made a couple of little scrappy bits. I put them together and I did some machine sewing on them using the presser foot. The presser foot was up. Most of the time I do free motion work because it's faster and I really like doing free motion. But on Monday I forgot to bring the free motion foot into the studio space here, and so what I did instead was I just used the presser foot, and I'll show you how it looks here in just a second. All I'm doing is tracing some goofy cats and a goofy dog on here, and these happen to be cats and dogs that I drew a whole long time ago. That's good English, isn't it? I don't even remember how long ago I did these, but it's been quite a few years. And so anyway, I'll show you where they came from here in just a second. And just about done. So I'm doing the two cats. And then I thought what I would do is take the scrappy bits that I did and we would turn them into, we'll do one cat, we'll do one dog. I don't know how they're going to turn out. That dog does not look right. You got to look at my reference things here. Oh, it's because it's his tail. No wonder it didn't look right. I had some weird thing going on here with this dog's hip, and I'm like, what is that? It's because it's his tail. Just a minute, I'll show you what I did. Okay. Oh, ever so much better. All right. So I'm going to let you just watch me draw this last animal here, and then we'll get started. So this is a dog, in case you can't tell. Hopefully you can tell. And the way that these were done is I drew these with my non-dominant hand. I did a whole bunch of dogs and cats with my non-dominant hand, and then took the ones that I liked the best and turned them into other things. And I've used these many times, and sometime some of you may remember that we had an art challenge quite a few years ago. This is supposed to come this way. Yeah, quite a few years ago we did an art challenge, and we had a dog that was a riff on Muppet, and we had two cats that were riffs on Chance and Charlie. We did an art challenge, and it was just for fun. There was no real big prizes or anything, as I recall, but it was just fun. Anyway, so this one is from one of those, but anyhow, let's look at these. So here are the dogs that I was using. And these were from those canvas-a-days that I did way back in 2012. And these are the foam trays like you get fruits and vegetables on. And then I impressed them. I was going to use them as stamps, and they didn't work. And so I just cut out the thing that I was going to use as a stamp and put it on the canvas instead. And then I did these two cats. Same thing. These are foam vegetable meat or vegetable and fruit trays, like styrofoam. All right. Amber. Amber caught my innuendo. We had a conversation about that earlier. Anyway, I was trying to figure out what I did on this dog here, because I was putting the tracing paper over this and I was tracing the outline, and I traced this. And the foot was here, and I'm like, what in the world is that? Well, it was his tail. It wasn't this. It was that. That's what I was supposed to be tracing. Anyway, there you go. Okay, so let us see. We have these two pieces of scrappy things. I was going to actually come back and do some more stitching on these, but I didn't. So we're going to work with what we have here. Unless you want to see some more stitching, I can do some free motion stitching on these and mess them up a little bit so that they're not quite so regular. This is hard for me to look at. This is really regular. Yeah, I know, Carol. It is a challenge. This is hard for me to look at these because they're so very regular. Do you care if I mess them up a little bit? I think they'll be better if I do. I think I'm going to do it, whether you like it or not. Let me stitch over them just a little bit with some free motion stitching. Okay, just a little bit, because it'll just be better. I like the colors too, but they just need a little something else. So let me just put the machine up here, and Free Motion Foot is here today. And I'm going to put the feed dogs down. I'm going to put my Free Motion Foot on. And I just, you know, sometimes you just got to do a little something. So let's come here like this. Okay. I like the spiral one too, but I may mess it up a little bit because it's just a little too perfect-ish. Okay. And besides, having more stitching is always better than less stitching. So, let's just start up here and let's just do a little bit of something, okay? I need to, you know? Last night or yesterday, we had to make a trip. We were in the car yesterday for quite a few hours. We had a funeral to go to for the wife of one of Elton's friends. So we had to go do that, and it was a lot. It was just a lot. So I just haven't done a whole lot creatively, and so I just need to do some warm-up stitching. So what I have going on is I just have regular sewing thread in the machine, and I'm just going to mess this up a little bit. doing free motion stitching, you can always stop and take a breath anytime you need to. So let's go this direction now. When you're free motion stitching like this, what you want to do is to move, pretend that this is a piece of paper here. This is the ink pen, and the thread is the ink, and you're just moving the paper under the pen. That's all you're doing. So instead of moving the pen, you're moving the paper. Think about it like that. It will make it easier. And some of you that like things to be nice and regular and, you know, grids and patterns and stuff will probably think I'm just killing this, and that's okay. And I don't especially care what it turns into. I just want more stitching and to mess it up so it's not quite so neat and tidy. It will also help to hold down all these little ragtag pieces that want to flip up a little bit. You know, you don't have to have a presser foot on your machine when you're doing free motion stitching. However, it's a little dicey if you choose not to have the presser foot on. So if you do that, be very, very, very careful, okay? It's real easy to stitch your finger. The funny thing is, I went to a quilt retreat one time, and I've told you about this retreat before, but one of the things that was said was they had a discussion about people stitching their fingers with the sewing machine. And one gal said, she says, I can't believe anybody could do that. And I said, well, I've done it twice. So, yeah. Yep, I have. And it's not a pleasant experience either. Not at all. And the whole room, there was a bunch of quilters, and they were all like, collectively. Okay, so this is now messed up a little bit. It's added a little bit more movement. That's what it looks like. I like it better. Okay, let's go with this one. And let's see what we want to do. I'm going to just do a kind of a funky spiral on top of this, I think. Let's just go in the middle here. Start where the black thread is. Yeah, black area, I mean. So let's pull the thread up from the bottom. Otherwise you end up with thread nests or thread puke on the bottom. All right, let's see what happens. All right. But on the old Singer sewing machines, it was a lot easier to stitch your fingers, get your fingers in the way of the needle for sure. Okay, so let's go. Sorry guys, lost my chat. Hang on just a second. Okay. I hope you guys are still here. So anytime you need to stop and take a break, just stop and take a break. It's okay. You're here. Okay, thanks. Looking a little wonky here. I must be getting caught on something underneath. Alright, let's come over here. Alright, well that definitely messed it up a little bit more, so that's good. That way it's not quite so perfect-ish. Okay, that's all we're after, is just to mess it up, add some more texture, and get all the scraps kind of stitched down a little bit more. So yeah, so there's what it ended up to be. So I'm good with that. I don't know if you guys are, but I'm good with that. Okay, if you have any questions, be sure. Hi, Jean. You stitch your finger once? Oh, no. Oh, it happens. It happens so fast. It happens. Yeah, it happens real fast. It surely does. And when it happens, you're like, ah, I don't even know what to do. That's how it's that kind of fast. Oh. Yeah. All right. So let's make some decisions. First of all, let me tell you that the wasp, the reason I'm here than when I wasn't supposed to be, is that the wasps got into what we thought was the fiber optic cable, fiber, and we thought it got in there and ate the fiber, because they said, the technical people, don't we all love to spend time talking to them, said that wasps like fiber. I'm like, oh, that's such good news. Anyway, it wasn't that. They got into a modem that was on the outside of the house. I never had a modem on the outside of the house, but that's how this one was. And they got in there and they built a nest. But it took a fat long time to figure that out. That's what they had done. Yeah. Anyway, disabled everything, which meant that Race had to come to my rescue and send out an email to cancel the class, which meant it had to be rescheduled to tomorrow, which meant I'm here today. So that's the very short version, which I told a very long story about on Monday. Hey, Darla. Good, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, it really happened fast, that those sewing machine injuries. Do any of you know Catherine Scraps? Have you ever watched her? She broadcasts, I think, on Thursdays. And she used to, I don't know if she still does, but she used to keep a notebook of all of her injuries that she had when she called them crafting injuries or crafting something. I don't know. So funny. I'm like, yep, I could have a whole notebook of that. Anyway, let's look at this and let's decide. All right, so we have a messed up spiral, and we've messed up the straight lines, so they look a little more interesting. So we could put the cat on the spirals, or we could put the cat over here on this. They have to go this direction because the images are too tall to go sideways. And we could put the dog on the spiral. Or we could put the dog, the dog could have a belly button. The spiral could be the dog's belly button, which would be kind of cute. What do you think? You guys chime in. Tell me what you think. I kind of like the belly button on the dog's belly. Do you like that? Cat on the lines and the dog on the spirals. Okay, let's do it. The next question is, which cat do you like? The fat one or the skinny one? I'm leaning toward the fat cat. And also, the cat doesn't have to be, the lines don't have to be up and down. We have enough room that I could turn it on the, as one of my friends used to say, on the yeah. And we could do the same, almost the same here, but not quite. We have enough room to do that for the dog. Or we can have the dog this way. I think I might like it that way better, so there's just a little bit of this coming in on the dog's head. I think I like that better. Is that okay with you? Hey, Kel. You're going for a respite on August 20th. All expenses paid. Oh, good for you. Aw, good for you. That's wonderful. Okay, well, here, let's just go for it like this. Okay, is that good? I'm going to rip some pins out of something else I had them stuck into. Let's just go ahead and cut out said dog. Now, I'm not saying that these animals are going to look exactly like, let's see, we're going to do this. Yeah, we're going to do this. let's do, trying to see, yeah, okay. I think maybe we're going to do it this way. So we have pieces of this, that white stripe coming in, but not the whole stripe any place, but just pieces of, bits of, right? Right. Okay, so let's stick this on here. I'm making this, as I said, Monday night, I'm making this up as I go along. And so we're all going to just see what happens. This little dog foot is awfully close to the edge. Let's come back here just a wee bit. So we did not get home last night until after midnight, and it was a long day. It was a long day. Miss Muppet is not here today. Miss Muppet she cannot be left here, and so she has to always go to the pet sitter. She goes to our vet's office and they keep her for me, and she's going to be there quite a bit this month, and she's going to be there quite a bit in September, but they all love her and they all take such good care of her. So yeah, so I will give you my schedule about when I'm here and when I'm not here, and I should be gone next Friday. So I should not be here. I should be gone next Friday. I will be here the Monday after that. Alright, we're just going to hack this off. I'm using some scissors that are not meant for this, but you know, we're going to do the best we can. So I will be back on Monday. I should just give you the dates, right? That way you'll know. Okay, so I will be gone. Let's do it this way. I'm going to be gone on the 15th. Okay? I will be, so I won't be streaming next Friday. I will be streaming this coming Monday, and I will be streaming the Monday after that. So I'll be here the 11th and the 18th in the evening, but not on the 15th. I also will not be here on the 22nd, so I'm going to miss 2 Fridays in a row. But it doesn't look like I'm going to miss any Mondays. So I will miss 2 Fridays in a row, but we'll be back for the Mondays. That's the plan. Okay? Hey, Starla, I hope you're feeling better today. I hope you are. I know you've had some right royal headaches going on there for a little while. Alright, so I'm just cutting out this little dog image. We'll see what it looks like after we get him cut out. And somebody is going to ask me what I'm making. I don't know. I'm going to make a little thing that you could hang up, like a little ornament type thing. And I have stuff like this hanging all over my, not the house yet, because with moving I took all this stuff down. But in my other place I had stuff like this hanging up all over. Because if I hadn't made it, Clausman made it. And we had some things that Race had made when he was a kid. They were hanging up. And I like having my own stuff up, you know? Okay, let's see. How do I want this dog tail to go? Okay. Alright. I'm just looking here. I'm just trying to figure out how I want this dog tail to be. And let me scooch in a little bit so you can see a little bit more. I think I'm going to change the angle of his tail a little bit. So we may bring his tail, instead of looking like it's growing out of his foot, And then I'm going to color it in so I know what part it is that I'm actually keeping. Okay. So anyway, Miss Muppet is at the vet. I will go pick her up as soon as I'm done here. It's so nice when I take her in. Pretty much everybody stops and they all go, "Oh, Muppet's here." It's really nice. I gotta say, it's really nice to have people who love her, and they loved Chance also. They just adored Chance, and it was, when we lost Chance, it was a very, very hard day in the vet clinic that day. I felt like I was going to have to console the vet techs, and because they were having a hard time letting go of Mr. Chance. I mean, I did too, but you know, when you've had an animal with you to the age of 18, that's a long time, isn't it? And Muppet is over 17 now. And getting more puppy-like all the time. Okay, so let's take this off and see the reveal, shall we? Dorothy's been labeling her entries for the Stitchers exhibition next week. Aww. Nice. That's great. I bet you are looking forward to what everybody else has done. Okay, there's our dog shape. Okay, I can handle that. I can handle that. He's kind of cute. He's belly button right here. All right, so we're going to put all this. This is how you end up with as many scraps as I have, because you end up with stuff like this, as well as the bits of the stuff that it took to make that happen. Okay, so there's the doggy. Let's put this kitty on here and see what we can come up with. And I'm going to put it kind of off. I don't really want the lines going super straight one way or the other, and so we're going to go kind of at a jaunty angle, shall we say. When I get this one cut out, then I'll show you what I did with the fabric that I jelly plate printed. I think it was last week when we were together. I brought it in here to show you. I showed some of the audience, some of the viewers on Monday, but I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you again. All right, so the kitty's tail. Cat almost needs a tail, but I think the cat's tail on this one we're going to make a little bit different. So let's strike that, and let's take the cat tail and let's curve it up closer to his head, maybe. And color this in. And maybe what we'll do on this one is make the cats, I don't know. We'll just cut it out and see what it looks like. That's all. It may be just fine. I'm trying to plan ahead, but you can't plan ahead when you're making it up as you go along. That is a fact. All right. So anyway, so hopefully you have the dates marked down, and if you want to keep track of when I'm streaming and when I'm not. And remember, it's all internet dependent. Yeah, isn't life internet dependent? Surely is these days. All right, now whiskers. Okay, I'm going to ignore the whiskers for the moment, which is exactly what I did to the tail. It's good to figure things out on the fly, because it either works or it doesn't. You know, sometimes it doesn't work, and you just have to, sometimes you just have to give yourself some grace and go, you know, that just didn't work at all. And then other times, some of the things that I've made while I was streaming are some of the best things I ever, best meaning how much I really like them, you know. Things I was the happiest with. When you can't plan, you're having to just let your creativity just sort of perk right along. All right, so get rid of this stuff. I still haven't gotten the gnome house completely finished. We're going to have to come back and revisit the gnome house cottage with the gnomes in front of it at some point. That's how I end up with all these half to 3/4 finished things, because I don't take the time to get them finished during the week. And then the next thing I do, I stream and I start something new. And then a class comes up and I got to prepare for the class. I mean, it's first world problems. What can I say? Okay, so let's see. All right, we're gonna just come in here and we're gonna see what happens here if I just sort of cut down a little bit of this. We'll see what happens. I don't think that the whiskers are going to work. Yeah, they're not. So we're going to dispense with the whiskers. And then if I put the whiskers back on, I'll do it with wax linen or something like that. Wax linen thread or something. I think that might be our best option. Cattail, on the other hand, is still here. I haven't gotten rid of the cattail yet, but it could bite it too. Hard to say. We're figuring it out a little bit at a time. All right, let's see if we can manage to not cut my finger, which I did earlier, a couple days ago. I haven't cut my finger, or my thumb actually. I haven't cut my hand in years. Not like that. I cut a right royal cut right in that hand. Yeah, it hurt. The worst part was it wouldn't stop bleeding. Yep. I know, right? Your computer died. You lost all your files on your pictures. Oh no. Computer withdrawals. I bet you are. Oh, Kel, I'm so sorry about that. I hope something shows up. Okay. Maybe something will show up that will find a solution for you. Okay, that's an eye. Those are eyes. Okay. All right. So what we have here is, yeah, I'm glad that I added that extra stitching because that's holding all this together a little bit better. Okay, so we have a cat and we have a dog. They're not bad. Those are not bad. I'm going to keep these off to the side. All right, let us, we'll take a break from this and I'll show you what the last week's piece turned into. So last week what we did is I jelly plate printed on, or I gel printed, layered mono printing technique on white fabric as a background, and I sneeze. Sorry. Woo. Sorry, guys. So I'll give you a quick look at this. So I did the background, and then I have the image on top of it. Okay, so this is what we did. This was the jelly plate or layered monoprint background. Thank you. Thanks. Amber likes the dog best. I like them both. But then I made them, so I like them both. Anyway, there is the layered monoprint background. And so this is a class that I'm teaching tomorrow that I was supposed to teach last week. And what's going to happen is that this is going to, at least this is my thought at this point, this is going to be like this. So it's going to be put on point. So a lot of this corner stuff will go away, but I will be able to use those corners for other things. So we'll see if we can turn this under just so you can see. It'll be about a 2.5 inch border around it. So you kind of have to use your imagination. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I am stitching down the pieces of the squares. So there's a square here. There's 4 squares. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 squares on here that make up this pattern, and what you see, all the thread on here is just holding everything together. But anyway, I think it turned out, the background turned out better than I expected, so I'm so happy about that. So anyway, sometimes I don't get to show you, or I don't show you how, you know, when I say I'm making this for some other project, I don't always show you the other project. So there you go. Okay. All right, let's go back to these. The little dog and cat. And so let's, here's our images. Let's work on the dog because I think the dog is going to be the easier of the two to make it happen. Okay? We'll do that one. So what I have here is felt. This is wool felt, which is not 100% wool. It is part wool and part rayon. And I'm going to have to go back to my other room and get some white or off-white wool felt and bring it back. But we can do some stuff here first. So we can come up with a dog nose. I'm going to do a dog nose that's going to show up on our little dog. So do we want this one or this one? I think this one's going to show up better. at this point, it's just about making it show up. And so we're going to do a dog nose. Need a marker. Find a little, this wool felt came from Joggles. So I'm just going to take a little scrap of this color, and this is one of the probably the worst ways of making a pattern or something, but this is how we're going to do it. So I'm going to stick my pin under here. And I'm just going to cut out a triangle ish, kind of a triangle. And sometimes I have to try this twice to get what it is that I really want. So let's put this about here. That's not bad. That's not bad. So we could have a little dog nose right there. Yeah. Hello, Janelle. Welcome. Oh, thanks, Darla. Alright, so we have a little dog nose right here, and so we're going to put that like right there. And I'm going to just glue it, just spot glue it, and then I probably will come back and stitch it either by hand or by machine. Okay, so that's about where it goes. So we're just going to put a little tiny bit of glue right about there. Okay, so he's got a nose. And now I have to go and get some white felt. So I'll be right back. You all keep an eye on the dogs. Don't let the dogs out. All right. So let's take this little piece of we're just going to have to use this. It's a little piece of white felt, and we're going to draw some eyes. They may not be exactly like the ones that are on the dog here. They're kind of, the two eyes, because he's looking off to the side, are kind of on top of each other. And then I have some black, a little black felt here. cut off a scrap. Okay, then we got a little black felt. This white felt is not the best white felt in the whole world. That's not bad. All right. And let's do another one. I'm just kind of shaping it as we go. Start bigger, go smaller. All right, do I like this? I think maybe once it's stitched down, it won't be too bad. I'm gonna go see if I have any felt that's any thinner than this. So talk amongst yourselves one more time, okay? I will be right back. Sorry about that. No felt, but I found some ultra suede. So we're going to do that instead because these are too thick. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that glue, a little tacky glue. We're going to glue a pupil on the ultra suede. I'm going to put a little bit on this one, and I'm not going to stack them together the way I had them drawn, like so. Okay, now I'm going to take this because that is just too thick, not working, and let's see if we can make this work. We're just doing eye surgery here. That's better. That's better. Okay, so I'll do it again. Always start bigger than you want it to finish up. Because you can always go smaller, but you can't make it bigger. Stands to reason, huh? Okay. Okay, and I want these to come over here like he's really looking off to the side. And they don't have to be perfect. We're going to cut this off like that. Okay, and we're going to glue them down. It does look better, doesn't it? See if it doesn't look right the first time, then you just redo, right? And if his eye is hanging over his ear, it's okay. It's my dog, and I can make it look any way I want it. Okay. All right. So there is. Yeah, it's okay. It's good. That's where it's stuck. That's where it's going to be. Okay, so now what do we want to do is draw in. I should be doing this with something other than a permanent marker, but it's what I have here, so we're going to just work with it. So we're going to take this, and about where his head is, let's see, about where the dog head is about right about here. So we're going to take this okay, so we got a dog head. And then we got a little dog, his little belly comes around here like this. So his little foot's sticking out from under his belly. And then over here, it's the same thing. This is going to come around like this. Okay, like so. Alright, so we got that much. Alright, he's beginning to take a little bit of shape. And his little ear, I'm going to make his little ear come up a little bit. Okay. All right. So we got kind of got the bearings of the parts of the dog. So let's take. I think we're going to come back to the machine. Get. Everything is turning into a big mess here. But that's par for the course, because when you're streaming, that's what happens. All right, let's get the machine back. And we'll do a wee bit of stitching. And we'll see if we can. I don't really need to hold the ultra suede, like the ultra suede. We're not going to worry about holding it in place, but we're going to hold the pupils of the eyes in place. So let's see what happens. Let's see if we can do it. We'll see if we can do it. And I'm going to use my free motion foot again. See if I can not stitch my hand. That would be excellent. So let's Press your foot down when you're doing free motion work. I'm going to bring up the thread. You could, of course, do this stuff by hand, but we can't really. Doing that here by hand would not work so well. Okay. So I'm going to sink the needle into the fabric. And then what I want to do is just stitch around in a circle. So that will stitch the one pupil down. So you can see the little stitch to hold it down there in the back. And then I'm going to stitch the other one down, and that will also hold the white of the eye in place, as well as the pupil of the eye, which is the black part. Again, pulling that thread up, that just helps to keep from making a big rat's nest on the back of the item. Okay, so we have eyes. Houston, we have eyes stitched in place. You see 2 little pupils, so his eyes are stitched. We're good. And now let's see if we can do something a little more fiddly, shall we say. And let's see if we can stitch his nose in place. I'm going to switch feet, put the feed dogs up. I'm going to use a tiny little zigzag. So we're going to go to a really tiny one. We'll see. And I'm using black thread, which is not always my preferred thread. Okay. Okay, it's got to be wider than that. Okay. It's going to take me a minute to get started here. So this is going to be kind of like a black outline around his nose, like if you were drawing it. Going slowly. This is like slow stitching by machine. If you ever heard of that. Okay. So we have stitched his little nose in place, and it looks pretty good, I have to say. I'm okay with that. Look, there's his little nose and his little eyeballs. Not bad, not bad, right? Okay, let's now, while you're here, right here with me, I'm going to use a piece of gray or black. Which do we want? Maybe black, since we have the black. Since we have some black fabric in here, use a piece of gray or black, sorry, black felt. And I'm going to kind of awkwardly cut a hunk out of the black felt. This is the wool felt. That's rayon and wool, mostly rayon. I'm going to put him on here, and I have a couple of pins here somewhere. And I'm going to stick those into our little doggy guy. Okay, so all I've done is just put the nose and the eyes on. And now I'm going to make my zigzag a little bigger. And I'm going to hopefully stitch our little dog. I'm going to start in a place that's not, maybe not too conspicuous. Alright, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, that's okay. Alright, let's zigzag around this little guy. And again, take your time. This is like slow stitching by machine. When you're on an outside curve, you stop and adjust with the needle on the outside. The right zigzag. So if you're coming around an outer curve, stop with the needle on the right to adjust it. When you're in a gentle curve or going straight, you don't need to worry about that. On an inner curve, you do the opposite. Or an inner corner. Make sure you don't sew over pins. Okay, we gotta hold this little foot in place. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see a little bit more. Wrong zoom. Okay, maybe that will be a little bit easier for you to see. And sometimes when you're going around a tight curve, you stop every stitch or two. Now we got this skinny little tail to try to stitch down. And this is where if you have a stylus or a pokey tool, it will come in handy. Now you don't want to stitch over the stylus. A bamboo skewer is good for this. Okay, now I got to finesse a little bit here. because I got to inch myself around this little tail shape. And I'm going to make my zigzag narrower here for a second. If you use a bamboo skewer, if you stitch over the bamboo skewer or the needle catches it, it won't. It'll break the skewer, but it won't break the needle. This one that I'm using, which is the Tim Holtz pokey tool, I don't remember the real name of it. It's a little different situation. If you hit this with a sewing machine needle, you're going to break the needle. So hopefully you can see by me inching myself around, stitch by stitch, I'm able to stitch a relatively complex outline shape. Now a gentle curve like this, I can just stitch around it without having to take all those slow stitches until I get to another curve that's a little more severe. Then you gotta kind of take your time. Okay, now once I get up here to his little head, I'm gonna really skinny down that zigzag stitch because it's not gonna hold anything down. I'm just using it for definition. And then I'm going to turn back around, and I need to get this pin out because my machine will not like that. And I'm going to stitch right back down because all I'm after is some definition there to separate the head from the ear. And then I'm going to stitch . Alright, I lost my chat again. Hold on, everybody. Okay. And so what I'm doing here is just getting rid of a little bit of stuff that's in the way. Okay, and now I've gone back to the wider, a little bit longer zigzag. And I'm going to use my pokey tool again to just help hold things in place. Alright, curve that's pretty acute curve. So I got to go slow. Once I get around that curve, then I can go faster. And what I'm trying to do is to keep the needle, the right swing of the needle, just off the fabric, and the left swing of the needle is on the applique, or the dog, our little created dog that we made. And you just inch your way around, going slowly, especially when you're making it up. You got to think about what's happening. But the pokey tool or a bamboo skewer functions as another finger. Okay, and now we're coming around here to where we're gonna have a little definition between the ear and his head again. And so I'm gonna go back down and skinny up that zigzag and make it a lot shorter again, just like I did over on the other side. And then I'll stitch my way back down over the same stitching. And then I'm going to jump over the eye. I'll clip that thread in a little bit. I'll clip that because I don't want to stitch right through the white of his eye. I'm going to back stitch just a stitch. And now I'm going to finish the rest of the shape of the dog. And then I'll come back and I'll stitch his muzzle in here in a little bit. So here we are back where we started, and I'm just going to stitch over what I stitched a little bit. Alright, and now I'm down here where his tummy comes over his feet, so I forgot about that part. So we're going to do the same thing we did up there in the head area. So we're going to just do this fine little narrower zigzag closer together, and then I'm going to stitch back over it. So that defines his little tummy away from his foot. I hope I'm not driving you all crazy with this. I'm having a good time. I'm having fun making it. Alright, and then we have another little part over here where his tummy is. Right here. So I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to stitch back over it, making sure I got to reposition the machine just a little bit so I can stitch right back over those stitches. It's adding definition, but it also almost functions like quilting a little bit in that it gives some dimension to the body of the little dog, our little friend. I don't know what his name is, but yeah. And then we got to come up here and we got to get his little muzzle in. So let's start right here. I'm going to start right here on the outside of his little face. Okay, and I'm going to come right on that line that I drew. Kind of a sharp curve right there, so I got to do that same thing where I'm easing the machine around that little curve until I get the straightaway up to his nose. Okay, then I'm going to come down. I'm going to come over that same little straight line, and we're going to pick up the other muzzle part and ease our way around the curve. Okay, now I'm over to the other side of his head. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stitch back over the muzzle, but I'm not going to go up there like between his jowls, up to his nose. I'm not going to do that again. I'm just going to stitch right on top of the line that just goes like this. because I've already stitched the straight part twice, so I don't need to do that again. So I'm just going to come around here gently, gently, gently. Like I said, making it up as I go. Okay, ease around the curve. Alright, we're done. Now, is there anything else we needed to do to make this dog a little more defined? Let's see, that's real close up for you guys. Let's back out a little bit. Okay, we need to put some pupils in his eyes. I think stitching wise, I think we're about done. So let's get rid of the sewing machine. Not get rid of it, but put it on the floor, or the table over here, as it were. Okay, there's our little dog. Now let's make him look a little bit better, shall we? Let's make him look a little bit better. I'm going to see if I have another pair of scissors here that might be a little better. No, not really. Okay. Let's try these and see if we can make them work. All right. So what I want to do is I want to cut around this, leaving as much as possible a consistent width of the black felt. Sometimes I have to go back when I'm doing stuff like this. I have to go back and kind of you know, detail it a little bit. Sometimes you end up with a point where it should be curved. But this kind of functions as an outline. Okay, do you see the difference between having that black outline around there and just having this where it's just the fabric? If you have that black outline around it, it just makes it look a lot better. So this is what I mean by coming back and just kind of taking the sharp edges off and just giving a little more definition. As you go. Okay, so I can always do that later, but that's what I'm talking about there. All right, let's go on around him. You do need to take your time when you're doing this kind of stuff, when you're cutting and trying to leave a consistent width of an outline. Sometimes I have to hold it up pretty close to my face to do this. Work in good light. Alright, I'll come back and get the inner part of the tail here in a minute. When you're doing stuff like this, just take your time, okay? It's not a race. All right, and now we have the inner part of his tail. Now this is the part that is harder because sometimes no matter how much you want to be able to see what you're doing, sometimes it's just really difficult to be able to see. So you have to go slowly and consistently reposition the work or reposition the scissors until you just bit by bit true him up. Okay? Alright, so there's our little guy. Now, I have some little bits of threads here and there, and I have some little bits of fabric that are wanting to stick up, like this one, for example. So what I'm going to do with this, let's see if we can pull this up just a little bit, and I'm just going to kind of round that off. And actually, I don't know if I can get in here and do this, but I'm going to try. Because sometimes you just, things just don't look the way that it started out. It doesn't look exactly the way you want it to, and so it's okay to come in there and just remodel it. It's amazing what those little snips will do. And I may be able to actually pick the threads out of this, pick the little red threads out of that stitch right there, just by using a pin. There we go. Just by using a pin, and it's kind of like you erase that little bit of fabric like it never ever existed. How cool is that? Same thing up here. Let's see if we can might be able to trim this up even a little teeny bit more. Okay, good enough. Now, sometimes I'll have little threads that'll poke up, like, see this little thread right here that wants to poke up. So I'll show you how I deal with those, and this just takes a little bit of time, and it's a little more fiddly than a lot of people would like to do, but it's that these detail things are what I like. So I'll use a pin, and I'll take a little bit of tacky glue and I'll lay it on the fabric, because tacky glue dries clear. And you'll have to fuss with it a minute because the thread does not want to do exactly what you may want it to do, but just a little tiny bit of thread or a little tiny bit of glue on that thread end, and it will just give it a minute and coax it, and it will lay down in that glue, and then it will stay put. And it's those little picky details like that that end up making your finished product better, and it really looks like it's totally finished. And that's the kind of thing, those little details like that, I really like that, and it just takes a minute. It doesn't take too long. But you have to do small amounts, and if you get some of it out on the felt like I just did, then you just take your pin and scratch into the felt a little bit, and it will come, it'll come where you can just kind of snip it off, and then you don't even know that it was ever there. Okay, so that is the kind of stuff I like to do, that finished stuff. Then for the whites of his eyes, I usually use some sort of a shiny white paint. Now I'm going to put the white paint over here so it's away from the glue, so I don't get confused as to what's glue and what's white paint, because that is easy to do, believe it or not. And then I'm going to use something that is a little bigger, like a stylus, and I'm going to get a hold of some of the white paint there, and I'm going to see what kind of size dot it makes. Okay, that might not be quite as big as I want, so I'll try this one. Alright, so let's give him a little white dot in each eye. For some reason I'm not having, there we go, that's better. Now he has the appearance of actually looking somewhere, and it's off to the side. Like that. Okay? That's an old joke with Dar. Artie Dar. We used to always say that. Back in the day when we all were streaming, if you said, "Can I have it?" That was a good compliment. Okay, and so there is our little puppy. He could have buttons, he could have a neck, he could have a necktie, he could have it could be a girl and could have a bow in her hair. She could have all different kinds of things, you know. At this point, I'm going to go back to the glue. I'm going to glue down this little piece of fabric that's wanting to stick up right there. So you can just kind of, the sky is the limit. What do you want to do? How do you want to do a little figure like this? It started with a drawing that I did with my left hand. I am right-handed. I did a drawing with my left hand. I did a whole bunch of them. This is one of the ones I liked. And that other dog, here, this is the other dog that I really like. Kind of a sad sack puppy with this big, muzzle. I did dozens and dozens of those dogs and cats. Picked out the ones I liked the best, and then made them into, I've used them over and over for all kinds of things. You could put a bead for a bead, like a ring in his belly button. You can do all kinds of stuff. And then he can become because he's relatively flat, he can become a bookmark. He could become, put a ribbon on him, and he could become an ornament. He could become a Christmas tree ornament. He could just be an ornament hanging up in your room, which I love. You could, if you had somebody that had recently lost an animal, you could make felt wings, or you could make wings out of the leftover bits, and you could add wings, or you could add a crown, like a halo up here, to give to someone who had recently lost a dog as a way to say, "I'm thinking of you, I'm so sorry," that kind of thing. So you could do all kinds of stuff, So anyway, there's our puppy dog. And so I will see what else I want to do to this puppy. I don't know if I'll do anything, but I might. And then I think Monday when you guys come back, if you're here Monday night, we'll work on this little kitty. And so we'll bring this kitty to life. And then we'll have, how about if we have a drawing on Monday night, and I'll give them away. So, gotta find my mouse because I need my mouse to, here it is. I got too much stuff on my desk right now. This is what happens when you drag a whole bunch of stuff onto your desk. Yep, could be pinned on a coat or a hat. Yep. Okay, you like them? Okay, good. All right. So if you want to come back on Monday evening, I stream at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. If you want to come back, we'll give them away. I got to make sure that Race is here because Race runs the drawings for me, because that is just one thing it's too much. It's the one thing that Barb just can't manage to do, and it makes it totally random by using Nightbot, and it's just so much easier if he's here. Anyway, we'll see. So there you go. There's the puppy and there's the kitty, and so you can see what a difference all the stitching and all the stuff and the sparkle dots in their eyes, all the things that it does to give them personality, and it also gives them more body. So anyway, I'm glad you like them. That's all done with scraps, and done because the wasps ate the internet. And Monday night, when I was doing the thing with the scraps, I didn't know whether we were going to have signal or not. So it's like, I'm just going to have to do something that just doesn't take any brain whatsoever. So, okay. All right. Those of you with the VIP group, your email will contain your information. It should have gone to you yesterday. And so I will see you guys tomorrow. And that's it for me today. So as always, do something nice for somebody, and I will see you Monday night, or I'll see you tomorrow if you're part of that group. And until then, remember to get creative today, because you know it's easy. You saw it here. I made it up as we went along. I will see you before you know it. Hope to see you Monday night. Bye everybody. Have a great weekend. See you soon.